TNT's murder rate among regions' highest. With at least 121,695 people murdered in Latin America and the Caribbean during 2024, it comes as no surprise that Trinidad and Tobago's murder statistics are among the highest per capita. What may be more surprising is that while Latin American states are seeing a general decrease in the number of homicides, many Caribbean islands, including TNT, are recording increases. The troubling data is contained in international think tank Insight Crime's 2024 Homicide Roundup, in which it analyzed crime data from various countries. Insight Crime is a non-profit news organization that studies and reports on organized crime in Latin America and the Caribbean. Its team uses investigative journalism, analysis, and field investigations to inform the debate about organized crime and citizen security. The analysis was written by Marina Cavallari, Juliana Manjares, and Christopher Newton. Trinidad and Tobago reported a homicide rate of 45.7 per 100,000 inhabitants, a number that speaks volumes about the challenges the Twin Island nation faces amid a region of stark contrasts in violent crime, the report states. According to the report, violent crime was driven by factors such as entrenched drug trafficking networks, gang rivalries, and socioeconomic disparities. It was noted that 2024 was the deadliest on record, with 625 murders, most of which were closely related to gang activity, with 43.68% of murders related to gangs. It said 81% of homicides recorded in 2024 were committed with a firearm. The article indicated that murders have been rising steadily in recent years as around 180 small, loosely organized gangs compete for control over street-level drug sales and arms trafficking. While this rate, 45.7, may not be the highest in the region when compared by a per 100,000 inhabitants, it nonetheless places Trinidad and Tobago in a precarious position, Insight Crime stated. In the Caribbean, homicide rates vary widely. Some islands, buoyed by smaller populations and intensive community policing, report much lower figures, while others, plagued by chronic instability, register numbers that can be twice as high or more, the report observed. High-risk neighbors, islands like Jamaica and Haiti, have at times recorded homicide rates that soar well above the regional average. Such figures are often attributed to decades of political and economic challenges, deep-rooted social issues, and the pervasive influence of organized crime, the Insight Crime report stated. In contrast, several smaller Caribbean states have managed to maintain significantly lower homicide rates. These islands benefit from tighter-knit communities, more controlled local economies, and robust law enforcement measures that help keep violent crime at bay. Despite this, they are not impervious, and islands like Barbados, the Bahamas, and St. Lucia, among others, are experiencing higher murder tolls in 2024 than the previous year, it stated. TNT's story is a microcosm of the broader Caribbean struggle with violent crime, the article opined. The data underscores the importance of sustained reform and targeted interventions. As the region continues to navigate the complexities of security and development, Trinidad and Tobago's experience offers a vital lesson. Progress is possible, but only through a comprehensive strategy that addresses the root causes of violence, the SOE effect. Speaking with the Sunday Express yesterday, regional security expert Garvin Hira said while the state of emergency, SOE, in the country was seeing results, there needed to be plans in place to sustain these efforts once it was no longer in effect. The current SOE has undoubtedly yielded results demonstrating measurable reductions in certain criminal activities. However, despite these gains, severe crimes, brutal murders, and persistent gang-related violence continue to plague our nation. This stark reality underscores the necessity of a sustained and concentrated effort to combat organized crime at every level. A short-term intervention, while impactful, is not enough to dismantle the deeply entrenched criminal networks that have infiltrated our society. To achieve long-term national security, an all-out offensive against criminals and gangs must be aggressively pursued. This requires a zero-tolerance approach, not just towards street-level crime, but also towards the broader structures of organized crime and white-collar criminal enterprises that fuel corruption and instability. he told the Sunday Express. A key element in this battle must be the dismantling of the illegal arms trade, which continues to provide criminal elements with the tools to wreak havoc on communities. The illicit flow of firearms remains a critical enabler of gang violence, and without urgent, high-priority action, the cycle of bloodshed will persist. The fight against crime cannot be episodic. It must be a relentless and strategically coordinated effort involving intelligence-led operations, joint interagency collaboration, legislative fortification, and sustained law enforcement interventions. This is the only pathway to restoring a sense of safety and security to our nation. Last month, criminologist Dr. Randy Seepersad warned that while statistical data may show successes, if initiatives weren't put in place to focus on the origins of deviant behavior, trends may return to normal. A state of emergency, like the one we have, can actually result in the decline of offenses for two core reasons. One is that it allows the state to apprehend the persons who they know are heavily involved in crime or who influence the commission of criminal engagement, such as gang leaders, for instance. So it's easier to detain them for a period of time. So basically, you incapacitate them, and that has an impact on the crimes that otherwise would have been committed. So quite often, the TTPS and the intelligence will know these people, but for whatever reasons, they may not be able to successfully convict them, meaning they can't get witnesses to come forward, etc., or they can't get the evidence that's admissible in a court of law because these persons are involved in crime. The second reason has to do with an enhanced deterrent effect. So the criminal elements of the know that the TTPS will have enhanced powers, so to speak, under the provisions made within the state of emergency, as do the TTDF, TNT Defense Force. So it really keeps them on their P's and Q's, knowing that the police can act and respond in a less restricted, less encumbered way, Seepersad told the Sunday Express. He warned that the SOE could lead to crime displacement and crime migration, where criminal elements move from their usual territories to less patrolled communities that are known to not be as heavily policed. The long and short of it is a state of emergency can have an impact. But again, as I maintain always, it's still not really touching on the roots of the problem anyway whatsoever. It's more like a Band-Aid that temporarily holds the criminal element in check to a temporary degree than it did before. But it is not doing what is required. In fact, it cannot do what is required to really get to the root of the factors that are driving crime and violence in the country. This is where the state really needs to intervene if they want to make a much more permanent dent in the crime figures, Seepersad said. In 2022, Seepersad predicted that the annual murder toll could climb to a whopping 710 by 2030 if action is not taken to deal with societal issues and other causes of crime in this country.